Back to the daily roundup. Now, the government institutions pension fund, in collaboration with key partners, has launched a new initiative, the PensionBacked Home Loan Scheme. It's a facility that allows members to use a portion of their pension savings as collateral for housing loans. Now, whether you are planning to buy, build, or renovate your home, this might just be the breakthrough that many have been waiting for. Now, to help us unpack what this means in practice, and of course how it works, who qualifies, and what members need to know, we're joined by Cacious Siboleka, the Manager for Investment Services at GIPF. Very good evening to you. Welcome to the Daily Roundup.
Thank you, John, and thanks for inviting me here.
Absolutely. I've just learned now that it's your first time being on our platform, so welcome for the first time, actually.
Thank you. It's my first time.
Absolutely. Now, to start off, to help us understand from the GIPF's language, what exactly is the pension-backed home loan scheme, and who is it meant to help, and actually, in essence?
No, thank you, John. So basically, the pension-backed home loan is an initiative of the GIPF. So it started off in 2018 as an initiative. So what that meant is that we needed to change our rules. So the GIPF has what they call the fund rules, so that we can be able to basically give loans to members. So, and then effectively we also had to get those rules approved by NAMFISA. So it almost happened almost at the same time. And by 2021, our board of trustees were then in the position to basically get this scheme approved from the GIPF point of view. But basically the scheme, what it tries to do is you think of it as a guarantee or as collateral, as you rightly said. So what it does is that you use your pension balance to basically serve as a collateral. So if you contrast it to a basic traditional loan that you have at commercial banks like FNB, Standard Bank, your loan that you get it's basically secured by a property. So for example, if you were to die, the property serves as a collateral. So in this case, the pension would then be the one that serves as the collateral. So this is now allowed based on the Pension Fund Act of 1956, number 24, as amended. So it allows us to do this, and it's not only unique to the GIPF. So all pension funds in Namibia, like all different pension funds, be it private or public pension funds, can actually do this type of service. But basically for the GIPF, because it's the biggest institution, we took long to basically engage on this subject matter. So the advantage of it is that it actually opens out for you to basically take a loan that you can build a house in proclaimed or unproclaimed area.
Very well. Now, what kind of housing needs can actually be covered under this facility? Are we only talking about buying a house, or are we talking about renovations or home extensions? What exactly are we talking about? The housing needs actually that are covered under this scheme here.
Yes, thank you, John. They can actually be used for various activities, starting from buying a house, or renovating your house, or buying a piece of land. So some people might just be interested in buying a piece of land. So with this scheme, you can just do that. Or you can basically also settle
be a home loan, right?
Yes, this is basically just for home loan. Why that is basically important is that there is a difference between this pension-backed home loan versus the traditional loans, that it gives you an interest relief. So it's almost like 2% less than the traditional loan that you get. So a member who is a member of the GIPF can basically, who has a loan from the bank, can take this loan and substitute it so that you are burdened less.
But how much of the member's pension is actually used then? What's the percentage that can be used as collateral, and how is that amount actually worked out? What's the calculation process like?
So the amount that is worked out is 33.3%.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did a calculation based on actuarial the consultation, and and assessment of our member profile. So the trustees actually approved 33.33%.
All right. And since this now is being called a loan, does that mean then people can actually borrowing from their own pension, or and will they actually be able to pay this money back, or what are we saying here?
So what we are saying is that the member can now borrow this loan and basically pay it back just like any other normal loan, but it's precisely for housing purpose. So what that means is that the member can borrow as minimum as 5,000 Namibian dollar to whatever their 33% works out to be. And they can also gradually borrow based on the needs, because what we have realized based on the research is that there is a burden of housing, but it is it's a bigger problem in the sense that it could be the biggest one is land. So you might just want to borrow for land, and all you need is 100,000. So you could use this scheme to basically borrow that and pay it off. But of course, basically the scheme is designed in such a way that your retirement benefit must not be disturbed when you get to 60 years. So what we look at through our administrators is to ensure that the members can borrow within the years left to their retirement, and they can afford. But that actually in itself brings flexibility. So you can borrow as little as you want at a certain specific point in time. So for example, you can just borrow 100,000, as I indicated, to build a room. In 3 years, you pay it off, and once you are done, you can go and borrow again, because the scheme is so flexible that you can go back. It's almost like you are paying a car. You see cars, we tend to pay them in 5 years. So this solution is almost going to unburden those, to look it in that fashion, like as such. But the key is that payment needs to be done so that at the end of your working life of 60 years, when you retire, your full pension, you still get it, but you have a house.
So 3 years is the maximum number of years then put on the table by GIPF for this house loaning scheme?
The maximum number of years that you can borrow is 20 years. So the 3 years I gave is just an example that you could basically borrow within 3 years. You pay what you can afford, because the interest is affordable. But let's say you are a member who has 10 years, you are 50 years, you can basically borrow for the 10 years that is left. You can borrow whatever you need, but at that time you realize that your pension credit is quite bigger than you probably have more pension than any other savings that you have, and you could just simply borrow so that you can make your house at your village comfortable to live in before you exit, and pay it within that 10 years.
All right. Now, lastly, before we let you go, Mr. Siboleka, once the rollout is complete, how can members actually go out and apply, especially public servants? How can they go out to apply for this?
So we are now busy working with the government on this subject. So the first stop point would be basically at their respective offices, ministries and agencies. I think they call them OMAS. So the same way that we as a pension fund, we do administration of pension. So when you do a death claim or resignation or retirement, you go through your HR offices. So they send those applications through up to us. But the only caveat here is that our board of trustees have appointed two administrators to help us roll out this program, which is basically companies owned by the GIPF, which is Kuleni Financial Services. We own it as an investment, 100%. So I'm actually speaking from an investment point of view on this subject. And then the First Capital Housing Fund, which we also own 99%. So the flow would be such that the claims will come from the HR offices up until the administrator, and then the payments will be released. So we would also make sure that through our funding to basically roll it out.
Very well. Very, very important information that you provided for us here this evening. Thank you so much for being here. Wish you all the best, and we hope to speak more on this. I think there's more meat on the bone for this conversation, but we hope to speak again definitely. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. That was Cacious Siboleka, the manager of investment services at GIPF, talking to us about the recently launched, or rather initiated, home-backed scheme that you can, of course, find out more information about from the GIPF. We'll be right back with another conversation right here.